What is up, y'all? Today I am doing a full disassembly of the lower receiver on an ar-15 as far as you can go, and the upper receiver as far as I want to go. I don't want to take off my muzzle brake and my hand guard and all that, but I will disassemble the bolt for y'all. And first we got to pack a sip of that Copenhagen mint, so grab your old can and be a man with me at home. And the decent cans are out, by the way. Instead of that cheap bottom, we got the good bottom now. So let's go down to the AR. I am recording from, I'm going to be shooting down like this, so the camera's going to be right next to me. So we'll see how that goes. Some of the tools you're going to need a screwdriver. Where are my screwdrivers? A flathead screwdriver, a punch, a flashlight, and I think that's all you need. I'm pretty sure that's all you need. If I need anything else, I'll let y'all know. So here we go. Let's get on the AR. So let's get to work. First of all, break down your AR. I like to do the pivot pin first and then the takedown pin. I just find it easier. Oh, first verify your weapon is empty. Always a good thing to do. And we will also cover the magazines. If you don't know how to take apart your magazines or even field strip this, do not go into as far depth as I'm going to show you. I built this AR so I know how to do it. My pivot pin, there we go. My takedown pin didn't want to come out. So take your pins out. Your upper and lower will be separated. We're going to start on the lower, so we're going to just set the upper side. Starting on the lower. I go ahead and push my pins in so I don't have to worry about them breaking. First thing we're going to do is take out the trigger group. So for that, you're going to want to punch. I recommend discharging your hammer. Do not let your hammer fly forward. You could split the receiver. So pull your trigger and ease your hammer forward. So there are two pins here and here that you need to take out. Just push them out. You shouldn't need to use a hammer for this on anything other than your magazine release pin. So there goes my pin. I took out the trigger pin first. It's smart to take your hammer pin out first. And there you go. So there's a hammer. Our disconnect, our two pins. It doesn't matter which one it is. And let me get the trigger out. It's stuck under the safety. Okay, we'll get the hammer out in a minute. The trigger out in a minute. Next thing we're going to do is remove our safety. I've got a Mo grip on here. So take the bottom, pull it off, and go in there, and there's a screw. It is a flathead or an Allen head. I'm just going to use a flathead screwdriver. That one's too small. I knew it would be. Careful, your grip is under spring tension. I will show you where when I take this down. So just take your screw out. You don't want to lose this small spring that's in here. I may have to look up some of the names of these parts, but I know where they all go, so there's no problem. I almost got it. I hope. There goes that spring noise, which is fine, because now the spring is decompressed. Looking at the back, the spring will be on the, should be on the right, I believe. And we are loose. Yes, the spring goes right in this hole here, and it is a tighter coil spring than the one I'll show you in a little bit. Then you're going to want to turn it upside down and get your detent out. Just softly tap it on the table, and there's your safety detent. And you can just pull your safety out. Now I can remove the trigger freely. Just push it out, pull it up. And I'm also going to take these springs off and show you how to put them back on. You don't need to break it down this far just for cleaning. It's real easy to do, but you don't need to. So take your trigger spring off. Your hammer spring, then your trigger spring. Your trigger spring you have to be careful with. And there we go. Next thing we're going to remove is our stock. It is painful to remove a MOE stock by Magpul. So what I'm going to do is I'm not even going to take it off. I'm just going to loosen what's called the castle nut, which is this piece here. Loosen that up. I only have it hand tight because I'm planning on switching lowers. Pull what is called your, I have to look up the name of this one because I always get it wrong. It's called, excuse the noise in the background, that would be my mother. Okay, it's called your, they call it a buttstock locking collar, but it can also be called an end plate. You're also going to want to remove your spring. There's a little knock in there. This is part of field stripping it, so you should know how to do that. Pull your buffer and buffer spring out, and there we go. There goes the plate. And now cover the place you have pushed down to take your buffer and buffer spring out, and start loosening your buffer tube. That is under spring tension, so push it down. Don't let it go anywhere. I just lost a paper clip, no problem. And we're loose. If you lose this piece, it's a problem, because you will have your spring. You can't lock back your spring. If you lose any of these pieces, it's a problem. So, take your spring out, push your takedown pin out, and I'm just going to leave the detent in there because it's not easy to get out. Ooh, there goes my buffer retainer and my buffer retaining spring. I'll get all these parts organized and tell you what all of them are once I have it broken down. So, I don't know if I have a small enough punch to do this. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the bolt catch. I do have a small enough punch. This one you need a hammer for. I'm just going to use the back of the spring. Pop your pin out, line it up, and whack it out. On this receiver, it doesn't matter if I scratch it because it's polymer. That's why I want to switch. But it should slide out with ease. And there it goes. It's just a little roll pin. Pull it out. And your bolt catch comes out, followed by your bolt catch plunger and the spring that it needs. Next thing we're going to remove is going to be the magazine catch. So to remove the magazine catch, take a punch, push your magazine button in, and on the other side, push it as far in as you can. You're going to want to push this in and rotate your magazine catch. It's very easy to disassemble, but it's hard to get a camera angle, so I hope all this is in frame. Only do a few rotations and then check I'm turning the right way. Some releases are different, some are the same. It all depends. This is under spring tension, so be careful. And I should almost be to the point where I can just twist the button. I am. Now I can just twist the button off, pull your spring out, and let your magazine catch fall. That's as taken apart as a low receiver can get. You can't take your pivot pin out as far as I know. Okay, we're back. Technical difficulties. Stopped recording. Okay, we're back. I'm going to put batteries on the battery charger real quick because our batteries died, and this does not have its own battery. You have to put AA's in it. So I use rechargeable batteries. So, where we left off, trigger and hammer, right. So, first thing you're going to want to do, take your your trigger, your disconnect, and your pin, and get them all ready. Your disconnect looks like this. This little notch here, you want to put onto the spring in your trigger. It is tricky to line up, so it's easiest just to drop everything in. You can do it with the safety in or with it out. It's easier to do it with it out. So find your hole, get it lined up. Sometimes you have to fidget with the pen to get it to start. It can be a pain. Come on, good. Start going through. It doesn't matter what side you put them in on. I got a cheap lower parts kit, so you have to fidget with this one more than others. I recommend oiling your pins if you're doing a build. It just keeps my pins are already oiled, so I don't have to worry about any friction or anything like that. And this is a polymer lower that has a built-in trigger guard. You do not need a Magpul trigger guard or whatever. It's a pain to line this thing up sometimes. Give me a minute to fidget with it, and I'll be right back once I got her going. There we go. Okay, I'm not going to edit that out because that didn't take too long. Get your pin all the way through your disconnect, and then just push it through. You do not need a hammer for this part. You should be able to push them straight in by hand. Now, get your hammer. Your hammer rests on the pin you just put in. So, get it into place and line up your holes. It's easier to do this with a punch. So I do this with the punch, put it halfway through, grab my pin, line it up. It's easier to do this with a vise block, but you don't have to. Only if you're going to torque everything down, you want a vise block, which I have. I just don't have a vise here. Now, my pin started, so I'm going to push it and push my punch out at the same time. This one may require a little bit of tapping. I just am using the back of a screwdriver. There we go. Now the punch is out, but it's not lined up and all the way through. You need to make sure your pin's set flush with the other side of your receiver. So finish pushing your pins all the way through. If I can find it. There it is. Get it lined up, push them all the way through. And it should look like that once you have your hammer and your trigger in. Test it for function. Pull back your hammer. It should lock. Cover it. Pull the trigger. And hold it. You can let go and then push it again. But pull your hammer back until it clicks. Now I should let this go and the hammer should not fly forward. Which it didn't. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is the safety. To put the safety in, you have to clock the hammer. Okay, what you're going to need for your safety is your grip screw. If you have a Magpul, you're going to need your plate for the bottom of your grip. You want your safety spring, which is a tighter wound spring than your pin spring. If you can see the difference. This one's bigger around. Yep, that's the right spring. And this one's for your takedown pin, which we'll get to after we have everything else assembled, because you don't want to work with all kinds of things. You need your detent and of course your safety. So drop your safety in after it's charged and select fire. You have to be on fire. Well, you can be either way now that it's charged, but what you should do is be able to flip it to fire, pull the trigger, and it should go. Pull it back, flip it to safe. Should not go. Even though there's no tension, should not go. Okay. I'm going to do this on safe because I do not want it to just collapse all of a sudden. Now there's a hole where your grip goes on the right side of your receiver. Drop your detent in. Put some pressure on it with a punch, and you should not be able to pull your safety out now. Take your spring, what does that go to? Oh, dumbass, I was using the, never mind. This is what the spring looks like. It's shorter and it goes in your grip, in the hole on the right side of your grip. Go figure. Right side of the gun is where your spring goes. Now, put your grip on and drop that spring into the hole. Here's the hard part where you might want a flashlight. Getting your grip on. Seriously, I have immense amount of troubles doing this. So I'll cut this out and then I'll be back after I get it started. I'm back. I've started my screw. You want to snug it as tight as you can. Just hand tight will work. This doesn't take an immense amount of stress in a 223. You may want it tighter for an AR-10, which is a 308, or a 50 Beowulf, or any higher calibers than a 223 5.56. Because when you shoot an AR with just 223 or 5.56, it seriously feels like you are shooting nothing. It feels like you're shooting almost less than a 22. So, hand tight. Just hand tight works. And now your grip. Test your safety now that it's in. Pull the trigger with the hammer charge. It should not go off. Flip to fire. It should work. Hold your trigger in. Pull your hammer back. Release it. It should not go. Pull it. Let it go forward. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do our bolt release. So what you're gonna need for your bolt release is this tiny little spring right there. That's your bolt release spring. You're going to need your tiny plunger, which is rounded off at the end, unlike your buffer retainer. So drop your plunger in to the spring and put the spring in the hole located right there. You will need to charge your hammer for this if you have not already put your bolt release in. So drop it in. Sits just like that. You can see it right here. I'm touching it currently. I believe it's polymer. There's no reason I have metal in it. Now, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find your roll pin, which I have, and your bolt release. Take your bolt release, push it in, line up your holes, and then put a punch in. So I need my smaller punch. Put a punch in once you got it lined up. You don't need to put it in all the way, just get it so it'll hold your bolt release. Get your pin started. I do it from the back. I recommend using a punch and doing slow light taps if you've got a metal receiver. But I don't have that luxury, so I just push. I start it by hand. This is so loose by now that it doesn't even matter. Now tap it in. I am going to use a punch for this actually. Okay, it shut off again. Now you should see the bolt catch locked up, and you should not be able to. You should be able to depress it, but not easily. You shouldn't be able to just tap it and it depress. So now you should be able to drop your magazine and it fall freely. It doesn't on a polymer, but it did that time. Now the remainder of the pieces on the board all go to your buffer assembly. First thing you want to do, take your spring and your buffer retainer, insert the spring in the back of the buffer retainer. The buffer retainer is hollow. You're going to drop it in the receiver. There's a hole located right there. Drop it in, and I recommend beginning threading your receiver first until it's just on the edge of your buffer catch. If it doesn't turn easily, you aren't lined up, which I'm not. It's hard to do with the stock on, but I'm not going to go through the pain of removing this stock. It physically hurts. It's not like it's just a pain in the neck to remove. It physically hurts. I'm having a little bit of trouble lining it up. Fuck. It's okay. The stock fell. Come on. Who's a good bitch? Who's a good bitch? You're a good bitch, aren't you? Fuck you. Fuck! Once I got it threaded, I'll be back. Okay, I got it started. Twist it until it makes contact with, almost makes contact with your buffer catch, and then depress your buffer catch, and continue twisting until you're all the way up against the peg on the buffer catch, so it's holding it, like so. Make sure you go a little bit farther than you think you need to, because it may not line up properly just by eyeing it. Next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your takedown pin and drop it in facing backwards. The way I do it is I leave it a little bit out, take the spring I need. I do not have enough space here, so I am going to cock it a little bit. Insert it in the hole on the rear of the receiver. Oh, where is it? There it is. You should be able to find it easily, but I don't have visual on it, so there we go. Slipped in. Depress your spring a little bit and twist your takedown pin until it depresses all the way. That means you have your detent seated. Now, they recommend using a razor blade to do this, and depress the spring and then put your floor plate on. I just make sure my castle nut is all the way loose, pull my floor plate all the way back, back it off a little bit, depress my floor plate until I line it up, and then I begin tightening my castle nut. Now, test your pin for function. It should slide, maybe not so freely the first few times you use it, but it should slide nevertheless. Test your buffer catch. It should move freely. Make sure you don't have any serious wiggle out of your buffer. If so, what I do is I just take a punch, a larger punch than this, put it on the rim, tap it with a hammer. Next thing you're going to want to do, take your buffer and your buffer spring, slide it in, push it until you hear the click. There it is. That's a fully assembled lower, and I disassembled it for you as well. So I'm going to set that to the side and bring up my upper. I recommend doing all your cleaning in a well-ventilated area so you don't blow up your house, because the pilot light on your water heater and on your heater will blow it up. Now, all you have to do to remove your bolt, pull your charging handle back, pull it out. Pull your charging handle back as far as it'll go, then push down. There you go. Now, to disassemble your bolt, it's very simple. Twist your bolt all the way to the rear. There's a little pin right here that you can just grab with your finger. Grab it. Tap it on the table. I didn't even have to. My firing pin came out. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take what's called a cam pin out, rotate it 90 degrees, and then it should come right out. If it stops spinning on me, there we go. And you can just pull your bolt free. That's all there is to it. Now, when you reassemble your bolt, you want your extractor on the side of these grooves. So, insert your bolt, push it all the way back, line up your hole right here, your cam hole, just line it up, drop your cam pin in, so the long side isn't facing towards the front of the bolt. Rotate it 90 degrees, extend your bolt, drop your firing pin in. You'll know when it goes. I just dropped it right out of the bolt. You'll know when it goes because it just slides right in and you can't see it very easily. Put your pin in. I like to go like this so that way I know I catch it on the first time. There we go. It sits flush. Now I'm going to teach you how to test your gas rings as well. So, take your bolt, extend it. So I just depressed it, extend it, and you should be able to set your bolt carrier group face down on the table, and the gas ring will hold it open. You may have to steady it. you just want all the weight on your gas rings. If it collapses like this, you need new gas rings. Go to a gunsmith to get that done, unless you know how to do it yourself. And if you do, why are you watching this video? I'm just kidding. I love all y'all's views. Charging handle, I'm not going to break it down. There's no reason. You can buy these whole, and they are fairly expensive. So, take your charging handle and your upper receiver, slide it in, give upward pressure like this. I'm pulling towards me because the top of the upper receiver is facing me, and slowly slide forward until it goes all the way flush, and you can do it, just slide it in and out really easy. Okay, drop your gas key of your bolt, which is the piece on top, in the rail of the charging handle, and then push your bolt all the way forward. My dust cover is shut, so you'll hear a loud pop, and it'll be really loud when I close it, so brace yourself. There you go. Guys, I hope you all enjoyed that. My name is TechStipper0025. Oh, wait, I need to reassemble it all the way. And now, I'm going to show you how to truly test your bolt carrier, your bolt stop. So, put your lower back on your upper. Okay. I do not recommend doing this. If you are going to do this, flip it to safe. I take one round and put it in a magazine. I do not recommend doing this. I do this because my dad was a Navy Range Master, and this is how they had to take care of theirs. This is how they had to test their bolt catch on theirs. Okay, insert your magazine. I'm going to do this standing, so give me just one sec. There we go. Now, point your rifle in a safe direction, charge it, and then eject the round and pull your charging handle all the way back. And you should be able to push your charging handle, let go of your charging handle and it not fly forward. Push your charging handle forward, and if you notice, the bolt catch works. When I depress it, the bolt shuts. Thanks for watching. I'm TechStipper0025, and that's the ar-15 disassembly and reassembly. Thanks for watching. Holler.